What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. Matt here, and this week we're doing another mini episode. Just hate to break it to you, you get another episode of just me. I know that's 3 weeks in a row. I know it's painful, but I have something a little bit different for you. I'm going to do my top 5 throwback albums from high school. The ones that were my go-tos, the ones that got me through some shit, the ones I enjoyed. And before I do that, though, some random small mini notes of what's going on in the world of musicals and random shit right now. So this episode coming out January 10th. It is January 8th when I'm recording this. The national championship game's going on, college football. Michigan was winning. Boo. We'll see how it goes. So January 8th, national championship. January 9th, so yesterday, Waitress the Musical comes out on digital. So Rayleigh and I will be talking about that at some point. It's available to buy on digital. I think the physical copy, it's coming out physical. Someone commented on our video of the review that that's coming out February 6th or 9th. So stay tuned for that if you're a physical media person, which I think is kind of the way to go now. I don't do that because it makes it much harder to hide all the new movies, games, shit like that I buy from the wife. So I'm digital all the way, but physical media will last longer. They're taking digital things from licensing stuff. You can't get them on libraries anymore, things like that. Voodoo, there's ones you can't get in the store. But thankfully right now, they haven't been pulling shit from the library yet. Like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, almost impossible to find nowadays. It's very sad. But so the 9th, Waitress the Musical, coming out on Voodoo, Apple, Amazon, digital platforms to buy. Not sure if it's coming out to rent on there quite yet, or if they're doing buy first and then rent. TBD, because I'm recording this before the 9th. So, Waitress the Musical, out. I am seeing Les Mis at our local center, unless the blizzard shuts everything down. It is on its national tour right now. So Les Mis is supposed to be here. I'm supposed to see it Thursday night with my season tickets for there because it's the Broadway national tour. So I'm really excited for that. I've never seen Les Mis live. I've seen the movie. Say about it what you will. Yeah, Russell Crowe can be rough. Hugh Jackman's great. Anne Hathaway in her small role, great. Samantha Barks is Eponine, great. All around, great. Amanda Seyfried, great. Aaron Tveit, one of my favorites. Like, when I talk about musicals, the people I recommend for almost every role now are Jeremy Jordan and Aaron Tveit, and I really enjoy Jordan Fisher, who is in Hadestown on Broadway right now. Aaron Tveit is getting ready to take over as Sweeney Todd on Broadway, which should be pretty good. There were some clips from, he did like a New Year's Eve show, and he did some songs from there. He did I'm Just Ken. It was great. Big ups for him. And another one that I've really been enjoying is Antonio Cipriano. He was in the Light, and there's some videos on YouTube of him doing some songs from Waitress with Renee Rapp, who is fantastic, and in the Mean Girls movie, which I am seeing on Saturday of this week. And then Friday, I've got WWE SmackDown. So all of these things are happening in the week that we are getting like 12 inches of snow, negative 11 degree temperatures. That's not even wind chill. That's like just the actual temperature. And it's going to be a great time. But that's what's going on here in the world of Matt, musicals in general. The Prince of Egypt musical. I grew up on this movie as a child. And so I saw it was on Broadway HD. And I feel bad because I've ragged on Broadway HD so much on here about their interface and not having smart TV apps or apps on like Xbox, PlayStation, things like that. I saw Prince of Egypt musical was on there. I'm like, I am uneducated and did not know this was turned into a Broadway musical. I had loved that movie as a kid. It checked all the boxes for me to be able to watch and enjoy as a kid. It was a biblical movie, but of course I had to learn about all the differences in it. It had catchy music, fun animation. It was only rated, I think it was PG. There's some violence in there. But I enjoyed it, so I wanted to check out the musical. the old DreamWorks cartoon, surprisingly stacked cast in that. I didn't realize it. My brother gave me a heads up. You got Steve Martin and Martin Short were the priests, and Val Kilmer was Moses, Ralph Fiennes is Ramses. Stacked cast. Michelle Pfeiffer's in it. All sorts of things. Just crazy. We'll talk about that movie at some point. But the film Broadway musical, checked out. I did not watch it on Broadway HD, even though I have the subscription. It was free on there. I bought it on Vudu instead, so I could actually watch it on my TV. That's how poorly I think of the Broadway HD interface. Anyway, watch the movie. I have mixed feelings on it. I'll probably sit on it, and I'm sure we'll talk about it tied into things at some point on here. I didn't really love any of the new songs. I thought they kind of, in my opinion, the extra plot points and songs detracted from the story itself. And I did like For the Rest of My Life, which was a newly added song, but it's the song that Moses is singing after the plague of all the firstborn being killed. And he's basically talking about blood on his hands and stuff like that, and how he played a part in it. So that was interesting. But that was my favorite of the new additional songs. The cast was all really good, but I don't know. We'll talk about it some other time on here. Another fun side note before I get into my ratings. We've been given like 15-minute episodes, and maybe you guys have been loving that. Maybe you've been hating it. Or what's more likely the case, based on viewership and downloads, when it's just me, you don't fucking give a shit either way. So it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to talk about what I want. So I have gotten into 2 new shows, New Year, New Me, everything like that. One of my friends recommended I watch Sopranos and Botched. So 2 drastically different programs, but I had never watched Sopranos before, and it's been one that's been recommended to me before, and I know it's a classic. And so I'm almost done with season 2 now, and same with Botched, I'm almost done with season 2, and both of them, highly enjoy, highly recommend. Botched, with these plastic surgeries that they're doing, they blur things out because it was on TV. And I'm like, I'm morbidly curious. I want to see how these procedures take place. I want it kind of not to be blurred, but I also kind of have a queasy stomach. So I'm kind of glad it's blurred. But it's very interesting. You see these cases that come in and what they're dealing with. And I enjoy the ones more where it's people that it's like they're actually looking to improve their way of life, or they had it's a completely botched surgery. It's not just cosmetic. The just cosmetic one isn't what they focus on as much. It's the ones that this is actually going to help them. And that's really cool. I feel like seeing what they can do. And as I mentioned before, it's Mean Girls movie week. Mean Girls comes out. Early screenings start today, the 10th, the day this episode is out. The Wednesdays We Wear Pink advanced screenings, which, of course, I didn't go to because I don't really have pink. I guess you could argue this is pink, but I don't think it would count for a Mean Girls showing. One interesting tidbit that whenever we talk about the Mean Girls movie, will probably get brought up. New Year, New Me. We're doing this. It will probably get brought up when we discuss the musical. But Tina Fey, I saw in an interview that she said Glenn Coco is one of her brother's friends' names, and she threw it in the script to be fun. And now that guy's life is just ruined because that's one of the most quoted parts of the movie. So funny. I'm excited for the musical. I will give my thoughts on here either with Rayleigh or solo. We'll do some mini ones. I won't go in depth because it's a movie we'll want to talk about in depth on here at some point. So it might get the Little Mermaid treatment where I talk about it solo and then we talk about it together further down the road. All right. So now what you all have been dying to know is what kind of music and what albums did Matt listen to in high school, and why would I choose these? And I will say there's some that did not make it to this list because they're not ones that I listen to now or would listen to now. Back then, one of the first albums that I had recommended to and I listened to so much was Hollywood Undead. I went to listen to that does not age well. Like I went to listen to it like a couple years ago. And I'm like, oh, I remember really liking a couple songs. The Black Dahlia was one of my go-tos on there. And it was their Swan Songs album is what it was called, which is kind of weird because it was their first album. But Black Dahlia was good. And so I went back and listened in general. I'm like, some of these songs don't age that great. Just that kind of music I don't listen to as much anymore. But these are 5 albums that were on a heavy rotation, and every one of these albums, there is at least one song from it that's on my playlist that I listen to most, besides my musicals one. None of these are musical albums, by the way. I didn't start listening to musicals a lot more until really like the past 5 years or so. Growing up, it was more into pop punk. I'm still really into pop punk and just some rock. And it was like I was raised more where I could only listen to Christian music. So a lot of these are Christian artists or things that were pulled from there. So number one, and the reason that kind of spurred this is by Relient K. It is the 20th anniversary of this album. The original album came out in 2004, which was before I was in high school, but I listened to it when I was in high school. I don't know if I'll be curious to see if they do a 20-year tour. I really love this album. Relient K has some really good albums. They had Two Lefts Don't Make a Right, but Three Do is one of them, and that had some great songs. It had Mood Rings, Chapstick, Chap Lips, and things like Chemistry. Great one. They have really fun song titles. That I feel like was a thing of that era. You had that with Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, just really long, exaggerated song titles. But does not have that for the most part. Some of my favorite ones on there are the ones that I feel like were very commercially popular as well. Like, yes, Relient K was a Christian band, but a lot of their songs had mainstream appeal and made it to mainstream radio. Be My Escape and Who I Am Hates Who I've Been are the two that still make it on playlists to this day. I love those. Matt Thiessen in the band. I love Matt's voice. I've seen them live once. It was at a music festival, though, so it wasn't... I enjoy festivals, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you get condensed sets and it's not always the best environment for it. This especially was a Christian music festival, just weird vibes all around. But so Be My Escape, Who I Am Hates Who I've Been, and The One I'm Waiting For is another good one that kind of opens it up. And I really enjoy this album. I still listen to it. I still listen to it front to back, but I'll throw it on usually once or so a month and just listen to the album through. Great album. These aren't necessarily in any particular order, by the way. That was just the first one that made me think of doing this, because I'm like, what the hell am I going to talk about for the mini episode? And I'm like, let's do high school musical albums. High school music albums, not musical albums. It's been a long ass day, guys. Apologies. Next is going to be Nothing Personal by All Time Low. There were a couple All Time Low albums that could have made this list. This one edged out So Wrong It's Right by just a little bit. And part of the reason for that is, if you didn't know, when I was in high school, I tried to teach myself to play the guitar. And I did that through learning guitar tabs and trying to find easy songs to play I can enjoy, that were essentially just power chords. Lost in Stereo by All Time Low from the album Nothing Personal, one of those. In fact, I had a YouTube channel back in the day that I did covers where it was just me playing music over the album. I think there's 3 songs on there. There's Be Free by Papa Roach. There's Lost in Stereo by All Time Low. And there's Sea of Faces by Cutlass. So I listened to this album so much. Lost in Stereo is great. Break Your Little Heart is great. Damned If I Do You, Damned If I Don't. Great album. This album actually made it. The remastered, the re-release of it was on my list of like top 5 albums if I can only listen to 5 more that we did I think it was in year 1 of the podcast. It was one of the first episodes we did, if I'm remembering right, and it made it on there. So Nothing Personal by All Time Low. That's 2. Third is going to be Smile, It's the End of the World by Hawk Nelson. There were a few CDs, so I would save money, buy CDs. If you're young and listening to this podcast, no, you're not. Don't lie. I don't think we appeal to a super young Gen Z demographic, but hey, if you do, I guess good on you. But back then I would go get CDs. I didn't use iTunes as much. Didn't have a debit card or credit card. I couldn't buy iTunes music. I'd sometimes get an iTunes card, but I'd want to go to the store and get CDs. So I got, I think there might have been 3, but the 2 CDs that I remember getting was Smile, It's the End of the World by Hawk Nelson, and then And the Land of Fake Belief by 11-7. They were bands that were in this Christian magazine that, for boys, I forget what the hell it was called, but it was something, but it was recommended. They had articles in there, and it was in the Christian music section. Went and got these CDs. I ended up having to sell the CDs because the songs were not Christ-centered enough. So, but I made a digital copy and I had them on my computer, so the fuck did I care? But Smile, It's the End of the World by Hawk Nelson was one that I listened to regularly. It was back when they had their original singer. I think it was their second album, right behind Letters to the President, which is also a great one that almost made my list. Some of my top songs in there, It's Over, Hello, and Everything You Ever Wanted. So those 3, of course, none of them are about God, so it makes sense that I had to return it. It wasn't Christ-centered enough. They're about women, relationships, shame. It wasn't even about courting. So Smile, It's the Underworld by Hawk Nelson, another great one on Apple Music. Fourth one is going to be Comatose by Skillet. Skillet's one of those bands that they also appeal to mainstream, like even today on mainstream rock radio, they're on there. They tour with a lot of secular bands, and they have good message. They don't get overly preachy during their shows and their sets, and they rock. They put on a great live show. I've seen them 4 times live. But the Comatose album, it came out in 2006, and so again, came out 2004. Nothing Personal came out 2009. So it was towards the end of high school. I would have been a junior then when that came out. And then, so that was 2009. Smile, It's the End of the World was 2006. Comatose was also 2006. When I was in high school, one of the things I did for money was in the summer, I live in the Midwest, there's a thing called detasseling. What it is child labor, but you get paid a lot of money to do it. So basically what you do is you get on a school bus when it's dark in the morning, like 5 a.m. You meet at a school, you and about 100 other middle schoolers, high schoolers. You pile on the bus. They drive you out to a cornfield. It's in usually July, so it's hot. But in the morning, everything's wet because they have pivots on in this cornfield that's watering it. And there's, I was going to say mist. It's not mist. What is the word I'm thinking of in the morning? This is the bad thing about solo things. You don't have someone else to sound things off of and bounce the words back to you so you don't sound like an idiot. Dew. Dew is the word I was looking for. There's dew in the place. Everything is dewy and wet and muddy. And what you do is you walk down the rows of corn and you pull the tassels, little top things out. You pull them out, you throw them on the ground, and you do that. So you could do it. You could ride in a bucket on the front of a tractor and do it. And that's what beginners did. For me, I was a professional. So what we did is we walked the rows, and you got paid per row you did. There was a cool trick. You could take the tassel, and then you could hit it on the bottom of your shoe, and it sent the bottom part of it flying, and you could get people welts with those suckers. We had fun. Most people did. I was homeschooled and weird and sheltered, so I pretended to have fun. I had fun by myself. But I always had my MP3 player with me, and listen to music. I had the MP3 player in a bag, like a Ziploc bag, because it wasn't waterproof at the time, and then the cable running through into my ears. But I had like a 5 CD player in my room that I had set for my alarm clock. The CD I always woke up to, Comatose by Skillet. So Rebirthing gives me like flashbacks, PTSD, to waking up early as fuck in the morning to go to Tassel, walk through these wet ass cornfields. But you did make good money, at least for a high schooler kid at that time. Like the season usually ran about 3 weeks, and you made a couple grand. So not bad. So it did that. But Comatose by Skillet is a great album. It's probably my favorite of theirs. Their one, Awake, that came out a few years after that. That one is also really solid. That's probably the more commercially known album. And Monster. Some of the songs of that have been played before, like NFL, NBA, like different professional sporting games too. Like they'd be play-ins to songs on there. So that's really cool. But The Last Night, The Older I Get, and probably Those Nights are the 3 that I listen to most on that album. Besides the one that woke me up every morning, Rebirthing. But great album by Skillet. That's the 4th one. Number 5 was Tough. And I'm cheating like I try to with the list with Rayleigh. And I have like 6 honorable mention albums that almost made it. But what I had to go with for 5 was Critically Ashamed by FM Static. Now, for those of you who were raised in Christian households, you may know FM Static features Trevor McNeven from Thousand Foot Crutch. He was the lead singer. Thousand Foot Crutch, rock, kind of similar to Skillet, not as popular and not quite as hard, if you will. And they started out like almost kind of rap. It was interesting. Their Set It Off album, interesting. A Thousand Foot Crutch. But FM Static is their more like kind of pop punk style music. And so it was kind of like a side project. And they did a few albums, I think 4 albums total. And so Critically Ashamed was their second one. And it just had some more like soulful, sad songs too, which I go through stages and vibes of that. So like Tonight and 6 Candles were more sad, soulful songs you want to listen to when you want to cry. But also has America's Next Freak, which is one that I've been listening to a lot lately. Like that's my playlist that I listen to. It pops on when I'm doing my shower music, my shower concert speaker going on. America's Next Freak, usually every other day type thing. The Video Store is another great one from that album. Nice piece of art. So Critically Ashamed by FM Static is my 5th most listened to one. So we got by Reliant K from 2004. Nothing Personal by All Time Low from 2009. Smile It's the End of the World by Hawk Nelson, 2006. Comatose by Skillet, also 2006. And then Critically Ashamed by FM Static from 2008. Honorable mentions, I mentioned it before. And The Land of Fake Belief by 11D7. This was a great album. I love it front to back. It's so good. He has also, singer's name is Matt, also has such a unique voice. And my favorite songs on there, one of it was MySpace. MySpace era was great. I got grounded a couple times because our computer growing up was like in the basement by my brother and I's room. And after we went to bed, and I thought I couldn't hear the parents upstairs, thought they were asleep, I'd go out and I'd just be chatting with people on MySpace. People I knew, not like sketchy people online or anything, but I'd just be chatting with people on MySpace until like 2 a.m. But MySpace, More Than a Revolution, Anti-Adieu, Stellar Sayonara, all great songs on that album that I had to sell, but I didn't care because I'd already downloaded the MP3s to my player and the computer. Man on the Moon, The End of Day by Kid Cudi. It was a 2009 album. This album obviously stands out more than the others. Back with the tasseling money, visited my cousin that was in Virginia. He introduced me to Kid Cudi. One of my favorite songs at the time was The Prayer, which was only available on his mixtape, A Kid Named Cudi, which is now available on Apple Music. he released it. I'm sure Spotify too. But you used to not be able to get that at all. You had to like download the mixtape from SoundCloud and you could get it, but you couldn't stream it anywhere. Now it's available to stream. But the Man on the Moon album, one of my favorites at the time, Pursuit of Happiness and Soundtrack to My Life are probably two of the ones that I still go back to this day. But great album, Kid Cudi, who has a new one coming out. He just announced the track list today for Insano. But another honorable mention, I've got two more honorable mentions. Blink-182's greatest hits album. So I know it's kind of cheating, but it came out in 2005. It's right before I was in high school. When I was in high school? Right before. But so good. Damn It was my go-to song from the album. Damn It, so damn good. But of course, he got All the Small Things, What's My Age Again, M&M's, Adam's Song. Just a great album. Blink-182 has so many hits. They're awesome. And so that album rocked. So honorable mention. And then the other one, So Wrong It's Right by All Time Low. I mentioned them before. This was their 2007 album. And the main songs I listened to on there were Dear Maria, Count Me In, and Remembering Sunday. Partially for Remembering Sunday. Another one of those guitar ones, very easy to play. Power chords. Just went through it. Could belt it out. My key is what I would do. And I still do this strategy when I'm in the shower. So I turn the music up loud enough where you can't hear me that well, because I am not a great singer. And then I just sing my heart out to the music. So that was my key. Remembering Sunday, I would crank up the music on my CD player. I would play along with it on my guitar and be singing poorly and loudly. So that's going to do it. That is random news, tidbits for the week. That is just some random bullshit. And then that is the list of my top 5 albums, CDs that I would listen to in high school. And now you have a little more insight into my life. And now your world is complete, as I'm sure, if you've listened this long. If you have listened to this long, put a like on the YouTube video. I don't care. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, go to YouTube, log in with your YouTube, your Gmail account, and then hit the little like button. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button while you're at it. Throw us a follow, share, Instagram. The Twitter's dead. I don't use that really anymore. Probably deactivate it because Twitter sucks. And that might be one of my goals for 2024 is to eliminate Twitter from my life because it's the worst. Social media in general is. But I need it for shit like this because how else would I reach our followers? So, like, follow, comment, share. You guys who are still listening, you rock. And also, what's wrong with you? Like, I appreciate it, but I feel like you have better things to do with your life. Don't unsubscribe. I still want to see that number. I get too caught up in seeing things sad. It affects me mentally and personally. And so it's very bad that I manage the social media. But I do it. I do it for you. So like, comment, follow, share. Thank you all. Give us suggestions. Because if my brain is fried this year already. It's been a rough start to 2024. We're 8 days in, and it's been a struggle. So, give us some suggestions. Give me lists you want to see on mini episodes, because otherwise I am feeling creatively bankrupt this year so far, which is not great when you have a podcast. You need Rayleigh to come on and give some inspiration and mix things up. So we'll see. Hopefully we got Rayleigh back next week and you'll get both of us will mix things up. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening, watching, following, subscribing, caring. You guys rock. Cheers to you. Tink. Cheers to the new year. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.